This month's slideshow is brought to you by Steel Highway. Visit steel-highway.com or follow the link in the description to find out how Steel Highway is supporting the railfan community. Steel Highway, the magazine for the modern railfan. Hello everyone, and welcome back to part 2 of Earl Short's Des Moines streetcar program. We're going to be joining this in progress or mid-interview, so if you have not watched part 1 yet, I encourage you to go back and see that first. With that, I turn you back over to Earl Short.
Now we're downtown, heart of downtown Des Moines, 7th and Locust, 1953. Now we've gotten, the streetcars are gone, and now we have the curb liners, and you have, like I say, the heart of downtown Des Moines. You have the Register and Tribune, which has a sign there of 525,000 daily subscribers. That was the largest that sign ever got. Down through the years, you'll see historic pictures of that being different numbers, 375,000, etc. But right next across the alley here was Bishop's Cafeteria, which is a very popular cafeteria in downtown Des Moines. And in Walgreens across the street, you have Walgreens drugstore. And then up here in Des Moines, you had world's largest upstairs clothiers, which is Foreman and Clark. And they always advertise walk upstairs and save. And they were on the second floor.
Yep.
Any farmers down underneath. But in this particular picture, all these cars have snow on them except for this one 49 Ford convertible here on the left here. He must have been the only one that had a garage.
So when they switched over to these curb liners, did they have to put up a second set of catenary wires to support them?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah, they had to put up wire, and then it's still, in fact, still today, they're still got streetcar tracks underneath the paving in a lot of locations, but the wiring was all taken,
right,
added with the two wires until the curb liners were gone.
No, I know it's very common in those street projects where they're literally just pave right over the cobblestones, the rails, whatever was in the street previously, they just go right over top of it.
Yes, and I've got a picture, I think it's coming up, of showing that very thing. There's that same view in 2006. Take a double peek at that. That it just doesn't, I mean, there's just nothing there. It's can't recognize any building in that today. Same view. There's the same view back in 1900, but we're looking east at 7th and Locust. You'll see a streetcar getting ready to come across the intersection here, but you had the early streetcars, you had the horse and buggies intermingling with each other here.
Mm-hmm.
Looking south, this building right here to the right is where the old Cass, I'll have a picture of that here in a moment. Cass drugstore wound up being on the bottom of that. They added 4 stories to this building here that you see on the right.
Wow, that's already a 3-story building.
Yeah, it's already 3, and they added 4 stories to the top of that, and then Cass had the bottom of it. Here's a drawing of that very same thing. Newspaper. 1897 newspapers showing the Flynn building that was built in 1885, later squared off and 4 stories were added. There it is. And there's the cat store down below. And you'll see a little newsstand down here. Well, I got to know, being I worked at the Register for 22 years, I got to know this guy that operated this newsstand because he would come up every time there was a new edition there were 3 editions to the paper each night, and he would come up and get a new edition every time it would come out. and take it back to his newsstand.
Mm-hmm.
This is him. Called him Swede, Arvid Carlson. I really didn't even know his name till later. I always called him Swede. Great guy, but he was on that newsstand for years and years. This is I'm guessing around 1966. These pictures were taken of Arvid and Swede in his newsstand. Very popular newsstand, right there in the heart of downtown Des Moines. Okay, now 7th and Locust looking east again, and this is 1920. I don't know the emphasis on this particular one. This is not a parade, but it's getting ready for something. I'm not sure. Anyways, 1920. The only thing that comes to mind is women's ability to vote.
Right.
That come along in that.
There's a lot of different flags hanging there too.
Yeah, that's what I don't know what this particular picture is referencing either on all those flags. And then 7th and Walnut, this was the beginning of the curb liner. You'll see over here on the side here, you'll see a proposed trolley bus loading zone. Well, trolley buses never loaded in that part of that would have obstruct traffic if it was stopped in that location. But they were just advertising that the trolley bus is coming along, and they're going to be able to go over to the curb. In this particular picture, you'll see a streetcar coming up here for line number 2, which goes out to actually goes out to West Des Moines, but line number 2 shuts off at 59th and Grand, so prior to going on into West Des Moines or Valley Junction. And then, of course, this is Yonkers right here off to the left. Kresge's, the other staple that were down there, the Utica, Iowa Beauty School. And then this one, same location, looking a little further straight on. 1937, which was still Valley Junction. The following year, Valley Junction, West Des Moines was incorporated. So it was no longer Valley Junction, it wound up being West Des Moines. So this was the last year it would have been Valley Junction. I always have fun with this picture giving a presentation, because I don't know whether this is a mailman or who he is, but I always make fun of him pickpocketing that gal coat in front of him. I think he's looking at his pass or something. He really didn't need a pass in the uniform they got on free.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly. He might have been looking at a schedule of when the streetcars were coming. I don't know. But have a lot of fun with this picture.
Sure.
And then this one, let's see, go back here, yeah. Okay, this one, 6th and Locust looking north, and this is around 1906. And you see the Equitable, the large building there on the left, the Equitable Life building was there from 1891 to 1924, and then it became the Bankers Trust building. But you look on the back of the streetcar, you see a mailbox. Well, Jefferson Scott Polk went to and got the okay from the federal government to put mailboxes on the back of these streetcars. So as the streetcar went out on the lines, if you had a letter you wanted mailed, you just flagged down the operator and put your letter in that mailbox. And then all the streetcars, as they came back through Des Moines, cycled past the post office. And the mailman would come out and empty those mailboxes.
Interesting.
Quicker delivery back then than it is today. But story tells it, as the postman got take his key, which would be on his chain, on his hip, and go to unlock that mailbox, the operator would start the streetcar. And so they had fun with that, I guess. Some of them did, anyhow. The ones that liked to be ornery, I guess.
Yeah.
Here's another picture of it. This is roughly 1910. 6th and Walnut looking north in this particular picture.
Yeah, I've never seen a trolley post office system before. That's very unique.
It was, and it was allowed until 1924 or either 22 or 24, when the federal government stepped in and said, you're infringing on our territory. And they made them take them off. So there were Des Moines was the first one to be able to do that. And then there were other cities, obviously, that latched onto that idea before the federal government put an end to it. Here we are in 1921, looking up north again, this same location at 6th and Locust. 2nd Grand in this picture, 1930s, and you have car 606 headed out to the University line number 3. But off to the right side of this is the fire station number 1. This is the oldest fire station in Des Moines, sitting on the intersection there of 2nd Grand. Then across from that to the east is the Des Moines Coliseum, which was built in 1908, was there till 1949, and it was built to be fireproof, which is very interesting. This is the same picture, same location, different streetcar, roughly 1939 in this particular picture. But with the Coliseum being built to be fireproof was a joke. I remember being down there with my dad to a car show in 1948 at this Coliseum, and it just tore me up to see that building go up in flame. But it did. Right off in this particular picture is where the interurban station was, and right here off, just across the street there on Grand Avenue.
Yeah, would that have been the Fort Dodge, Des Moines and Southern interurban station?
No, that would have been the Des Moines. No, Des Moines. That one was over on 7th Street further south.
Okay.
7th and Court. This is 2nd Grand, and this would have been just the ones that came through here were basically streetcars, and the interurban station was just up north off the picture of this. But that Coliseum going up in flames was something else. Another picture of it during the fire. There it is during the fire. I'm trying to put it out. There it is afterwards. And all I remember there being, which going out with my dad at that age was a big deal. We were able to go down and see that car show, and what I remember this car show was a 1948 Chrysler Woody convertible.
Wow.
Green. And that sticks out in my mind. I just remember that car at this auto show. But being there with my dad was a big deal. We didn't get a chance to go very many places together, mainly because we didn't have any transportation other than the streetcar. And now we're crossing the river right there, and across the river is courthouse, and 500 series streetcar going across the Locust Street Bridge. And this is again 1930s. In this particular, this is going back. Now this is going back a little bit. This is 1911, same location, but you'll see the City Hall across the way is under construction. And this should have had this the other way around. There you can see the Capitol building there off to your right.
Mm-hmm.
In proximity with where this is. This is the Locust Street Bridge. But City Hall is under construction, 1911. Still got their scaffolding up, working on it. And here is in front of City Hall in 1936. And I had never seen this picture before I started this project, and run across this picture from a good friend of mine. I said, that's my dad standing in that streetcar. And it was. This was him operating that streetcar, advertising the National Home Show or Coliseum. And second, East First and Locust, where City Hall is. And then you look at that very same picture today, and this is what it looks like. This is a 2006 picture, but this is exactly what it looks like today.
Yeah, that building is basically unmodified.
It is. It's just, you look at that, it's exactly the same. You know, they built it to stay there.
Yeah.
And inside that building is beautiful. Okay, now we're going to jump over to East 6th and Walnut. And here's a streetcar heading up Walnut, turning up East 6th, turning north up East 6th. And if you're really sharp, you see through the windows of the streetcar, you can see a curb liner going the other way. You see overhead, you have the wires are already there for the curb liner going inbound, as the streetcar is using the single line outbound. And anyway, you see the Texaco station there off to the right. Jumping over to East Grand, this is a picture, a bunch of about 4 or 5 pictures that a good friend of mine gave me, that his family took of these pictures in 1916. This one, East 6th and Grand, looking east, Capitol building just off to the right there, and they're doing some work there. I'm not sure exactly what all they're doing, whether resurfacing the street is what I'm guessing, because they're adding, the tracks were already there, so they're apparently resurfacing the street. But none of these buildings, if you look at them, the next picture is going to be what it looks like today. And there's just nothing there except for the pharmacy over here on the left. Oops. Hammer Pharmacy, which was there for many, many years. And he started coming to our streetcar breakfast at the machine shed when I was giving my PowerPoints out at the machine shed. He started coming out there, and I got to know him very well. But anyway, Hammer Pharmacy was there since they were in business since 1872, as the sign was saying. But off to the right is now the historical building. As you can see the difference here in this particular picture. Now we've got the historical building off to the right here. It's taken 2012.
So is this another street where you were talking about they would have flattened it out to reduce the grade going down?
No.
Toward the river?
No, this
Okay.
is not. This is coming in from the east, and the others were all coming in from the north.
I see. Okay.
So no, this would have been another area of town.
Right. So those streets coming off the north side were the steeper ones going down toward the river grade?
Yes.
Right.
However, you're going to have a hard time convincing the guy that I think that's coming up, that came down here and lost his brakes. Maybe I'm already past it.
Yeah.
Came down this hill and lost its brakes. I have that hope. Now that we're talking about it, I hope it's in here. Where he came down this hill and had to make this 90-degree turn and lost its brakes. And there was a theater there that wound up catching the power pole out front, caught that streetcar from going into a fully packed auditorium, and causing or saving a lot of lives, basically. This is this is another picture this family gave me in 1916 for East 5th and Walnut, and we're looking west, and fire station number 2 is off to your left here in this particular picture. Then you have the Northwestern Hotel, right, basically in the center of the picture. And then another thing that I always found interesting, you got the Grand Hotel here over on Walnut. So I'm not sure how come that wound up being called the Grand Hotel, but these guys are all doing everything by hand, no real power tools of any kind. Yep. 1916 in this particular picture, all back muscle, whatever they're doing, at least in this picture anyhow. And then you take this picture, and I'm going to turn around, and the next picture is going to be looking the other way. No, I'm looking the same way, but what it looks like today. There's the same view of what it looks like today. Nothing is similar. East 5th and Walnut. Okay, now here we are looking the other way, looking east, and they're in the process of redoing the streetcar lines here. 1916. I get a kick out of this guy that brought over the water to these guys. And the little boy there standing there with his back to us has brought over a bucket of water. This guy is using a ladle to drink water out of, which we all did back then, from a well especially, or if you want to put your mouth down underneath the well itself, you could, but there usually was a ladle there, and this guy's getting a drink of water, and then the big boy is walking away. You can see the soldiers and sailors monument just faintly there in the
background. Yep.
And right off to the left of that would be the Capitol building. Okay, this one is, again, look up east at East 5th and Walnut, and you'll see the soldiers and sailors monument, as faint as it is here. But this next picture is the same location, and they're quickly, this is 1951, this is 1916. This is 1951. The streetcars now are gone, and they were basically gone in January of 1951, and here they are already covering over the tracks downtown in this location. So the streetcar tracks are still there. They were quick to pave over them. I mean, they've paved over them and still have the wires overhead.
Right.
So obviously they come along later and took the wires down.
It looks like they're just going over it with asphalt.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Yeah. That's what they're doing. Same location. Again, East 5th and Walnut. This is 2012. And then that same location again, President Eisenhower was here with his entourage. Of course, he was our 34th president, 1953 to 1961. But same location. You see the Jewett Lumber Company overhead with him in his limousine.
Yeah. If that's summer of 1956, he would have been running for re-election that year.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. And here, East Locust and Penn. And this is a 1910 picture looking straight at the Capitol building there on Locust, and see the streetcar heading up toward the streetcar at the Capitol building there on East 9th and Penn Avenue. This is Penn Avenue right here. First one,
Yes.
I'll get it straight in a minute. Sign reads, City of Des Moines School, slow down to 10 miles per hour. Bryant Elementary School, which was right just a block off this picture over on Grand Avenue. Looks like they needed to straighten that telephone pole up a little bit. But great picture of that streetcar in that time frame. And you'll see this houses. And you look at this is, well, you just think this is a good residential area. Well, not today. This is all Capitol buildings territory today. There's just a closer up of that same picture. And this is an older one yet. And this was even before the houses were built. This was, they even had billboards here.
Right.
1898. The guy and his dog walking, I don't know if it's his dog or not, walking up the street there. Looks like it might be treacherous walking. But 1898 was when this picture was taken.
Well, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the reason they built on the east side was because the city was mostly on the west side of the river, and the open ground they needed to build the Capitol was on the east side of the river.
Well, I'm not sure the reason or the intent, but you're right. There, all the activity was basically the east side in the early days. Yes, it was. In fact, well, the first powerhouse, or not powerhouse, first turbine that came into town for the electricity of the streetcars wound up being in a building off of 2nd Avenue on the west side, but it was only there a year, and they moved it over to the powerhouse on East 4th and Maple. So from then on, it was east side.
Sure.
And all your powerhouse, your well, the stations where the maintenance buildings were over there on East 4th and Maple. But these pictures here, I mean, these are amazing when you consider the fact of what this looks like today.
Yeah.
This is all Capitol grounds, and this is before the houses were built. Here it is, 1910. This goes back yet, 1898, before the houses were built. You have the billboards up there beside it. And then you have 1903, and President Theodore Roosevelt come into town with his entourage. He's in the process of getting out of his carriage right here, and he's going to walk up those stairs and get on that platform and deliver a speech. But you notice that I want you to notice the pole. There's a guy over here on a tower, however. But on this pole here, there's nothing on this pole at this point. But as he goes up there, that pole gets popular.
Yeah.
And this is him coming down after he's given his speech. The circle there is to where he's coming back to get in his carriage. But now you've got 4 or 5, I don't know whether these are all highway patrolmen or policemen, I'm not sure, on that pole.
They seem to be in uniforms, yes.
Yeah. And I don't know, down in the lower right-hand corner, it's him tipping his hat to the people. I don't know what in the world these guys would do if something happened. They'd have to get down off that pole in order to get there. By that time, they could get muffled out by the crowd. And of course, this is Teddy. Just different pictures of Theodore Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick was his motto.
Mm-hmm.
And he's even on this up in South Dakota.
That's right.
On the monument up in South Dakota. And then here is a picture there at the corner of East 9th and Sycamore, which is Grand Avenue, wound up being Grand Avenue, and in the 1890s. Now you gotta keep in mind, this is a new Capitol building at this point also. But here we are in somewhere in the 1890s, this particular picture was taken. The early day streetcars coming out, and there was a barn up on East 15th Street. So there was a line going from downtown Des Moines out to this barn, and also to the east side. The Douglas line went on out to the fairground, etc. on the east side. Oops. While we're here, I guess I had to show that. I thought I took this out. Same location. There's the Capitol. It's 1985.
Yes.
This is the upside down version of this. Okay. Again, 1900, and that streetcar heading up Grand Avenue or Sycamore. And January 4th, 1904 is when the Capitol building caught fire. Picture of that Capitol building catching fire. Early Des Moines streetcar barn, East 15th and Grand, southeast corner. I talked about it. We're going to go up and show it. It was there from 1888 to 1929 when they had to move it. And there is a Sanborn fire insurance map. I've highlighted where the streetcar barn was, just right there on that southeastern corner of East 15th and Grand. And the streetcar came on down from this barn, came on down Grand Avenue, and then when it got to 16th, it came on down 16th to Walnut, and then went on out Walnut to get to the fairgrounds. So this is 1891 Sanborn map. This is what would have been going in there primarily. This was Dr. M.P. Turner's horse car, the Des Moines Street Railway Company. And this was some picture was taken sometime in the 1860s. And then you had Dr. Turner's converted car, Des Moines Street Railway Company. Street Railroad Company was the name of his company.
Yeah, converted to electrical operation.
Converted to electrical, yeah. Roughly 1889. There's what it took to get on his car. One fare. And then 1906, Hamburger map showing the car barn. And it does show the location. It came out of that barn and went on down to 16th. 1920, there's nothing showing in that. And the reason for it was because it had, due to a fire in 1916 and burned it up. And so from then on, they took everything and went over to East 20th and Grand or Walnut, out Walnut. And I think I've got those pictures showing that. there's the location of where that barn was on the corner, southeast corner there, East 15th and Grand. This is looking down the Grand Avenue on the left and East 15th on the right here.
Okay.
That's where that station would have been. Here's the location of the car barns, where they went, or where they was, and one on East 15th that I show on the left here. And then they moved on out to 20 acres. They had 20 acres out here on East 20th and Walnut. And between Walnut and Dean, it's where these 20 acres were that they moved everything out to. Oops, got ahead of myself. Okay, there's East 20th and Walnut. We're looking straight east in this particular picture. And off to the right in this picture is where this barn is. And this is the blueprint I have of that barn. The barn down in the lower part, the barn was right up against Walnut. And then it was 20 acres they had here. But it came in, you had the Chicago Northwestern line coming out to the west of it. And then you see all the different lines where they stored the streetcars on this 20 acres. And it was used extensively. But then it came along the Walnut here and came back off the 20 acres and back on the Walnut.
Yeah. So this is right down in the area of the Short Line Tower also.
Well, Short Line Tower would have been further south from where this is. Yep. But this next picture I show you is the entrance down here on the as this track comes off of Walnut and comes onto the 20 acres. This is where that location, this is a picture taken in 1986. And this is all that's left that I've seen. The streetcar tracks very vividly showing the separation as it goes into where that barn was. Still there today. Very neat. J.D. Larson took this picture. And well, what a great picture it is. Looking west up Walnut. Okay, now we're over on East 6th and School, or 6th and School, not East 6th, West 6th and School. And the streetcar come up to School Street and turn, well, they had both. The West 9th line turned and went west here on School, and the 6th Highland Park, Oak Park line went straight up 6th Avenue to Highland Park. And this is a picture given to me by a good friend of mine who I cherished, that I ran across. He was from Des Moines, but I ran across him. By this time he lived in Modesto, California. Was an avid streetcar fan. Was born and raised right up the area, right off where this East or West 9th line ended, which was 13th and Jefferson. But he sent me this picture. This was the last run on the West 9th line. And right there at that intersection is 6th and School. The streetcar getting ready to turn and going up west on School Street here.
Sure.
But great picture of this car 400. July 30th, 1938. There's the location of where that picture was taken in 2012. You got the freeway right off to the right here in this picture. University line, 1897 to 1947. And jump out to this picture at 42nd University. And you see on the left here, this picture is given to me by this Oscar Lewis's granddaughter. And 42nd University, University is not paved. See a horse and buggy coming down a block away. But Oscar Lewis is standing out beside his streetcar. And right off to the left is cornfield. And this car is headed out to the loop at 49th and University. This is as far out as the streetcars would go. This is 42nd Street. There's the same intersection in 1946. And you no longer have cornfield. Uptown Theater, the Uptown Drugstore, and then the streetcar 704 as it's headed out to that loop at 49th and University. And on this picture, I want to show you, you have a V for Victory sign on the telephone pole here.
Yes.
These were done during World War II, and with that, wherever these V for Victory signs were, is where the streetcars would stop. If there was not a sign, this was during World War II, if there was not a sign on that intersection, the streetcar would not stop. So people had to learn to go to where they saw that V for Victory before they could get on a streetcar. There's the same intersection in 2012, 107 years later. Now we're at the loop at 49th University. This loop, as I said, that we took the streetcar out because our church was at 59th University. So we would take the streetcar out to this loop and get off, and then take a gas bus if it was there, and take the gas bus on out to our church at 59th University. And we did this 3 times a week. So I was very familiar with this loop. Rain or shine, we were there. I was born in a family that when the church doors opened, we were there. So I was also on this loop 3 times a week. And this is why this loop has become so popular to me, so important to me to not see get destroyed, because I remember it in my early days. I remember as my dad operated his streetcar out here, and as he came out with us as a family to go to church. So this was taken by the late George Niles. We're looking east in this particular picture there on the loop at 49th University in 1945. And in 1961, when the streetcars were gone, the curb liners took over, and this is looking west. And you see Waveland Golf Course in behind the bus, and then Glendale Cemetery, they're off to the right. And in this picture, you'll see a power pole across the street that was used for the buses. And when we started this project, we decided we were going to do this monument. We were going to take that pole and use it, and they're going to transport it across the street and use it on our monument display. The city agreed to that. The city agreed they would do that. In fact, they would pick up the tab to do that. And so the next thing I know, here's that pole right here. And the next thing I know, I'm getting phone calls from people saying that this pole is being taken out of the ground. And so
Yes.
the city, nobody, absolutely nobody from the city acknowledged given the right to have that pole taken out, because the city had already agreed they were going to move it. And so why somebody decided to move it, I have no clue, and nobody will admit it. But next thing I know, the trolley pole disappears. March 20th, 2019. Now we did track it down. Oh my, did the people jump in and help me on this one. We had that truck zeroed in before it got to its destination. with that pole. And it is downtown. It's in a lot downtown being kept for us when we get to that point, which you look outside today, we're getting very close to that, to when that pole should be coming back and we can use it in our display. This is just taken in 2006 of that loop. And you see there for a while, they had one of those phone from a car, which was a big deal because we didn't have cell phones back then, at least to the magnitude that most people had. So you could use use these phones that were, you'd see them every now and then, but this one was there for several years. But as we're looking west across this loop, you see the entrance in proximity with the entrance to the golf course, Waveland Golf Course. And then this, or coming around a little further, 2015, you'll see the cracks in the university. Whoever put this extension on this over here on the law firm, it was before Riley bought that law firm. They extended over where the streetcar came out. In fact, they extended over almost the entire area where the streetcar tracks are underneath. One of them still is just barely to the edge of where that is. You go around a little further and you see the other side, and where the cracks are exactly as to where that streetcar tracks are underneath there. In fact, there today, as the university deteriorates, you see the crack open it up and see the tracks underneath of university. So we know that the streetcar tracks are there. We just don't know exactly how far underneath there they are. But that's where our monument's going to be. We had to go to the city council to get a petition to save that, put that on to historic monument, to save it as a historic piece. And my good buddy Jerry Tormey went there. It was in the middle of January. I can't get out in bad weather. So my good buddy Jerry volunteered to go down there and represent us to the city council. And we got 100% unanimous decision to move forward and place that on a historic landmark, as a historic landmark. And then we went before the Planning and Zoning Committee, the Architectural Division, and all of them, we got a unanimous approval. So we're going along well. This particular one picture you're seeing here was done by Channel TV 5 with this John Diaz, September 14, 2021. He did a special on me in that loop, which the more we do, the more recognition we get on this monument. And there he is interviewing me, looking across the street there on University. We're out there where the crack really is. And now he's pointing down as to where you can see the streetcar tracks opening up as the streetcar deteriorates. Now, since then, they've come along there and put patching on there to cover those holes up. But at least we know that the streetcar tracks are still there, as you can see as you look on out University. Very historic for us. This is what our monument is going to look like, according to Shive Hattery. There's been a few tweaks from this particular drawing, but basically overall, this is what it's going to look like. And the streetcar coming in, and it will go out. Right, they've taken this sign here and moved it because they felt this interfered with the golf course sign over here. So we're now revamped this over here. So the signs will be over in this location up on a pole. And I do not have a picture showing that. And then there's desk benches where you will have in the benches or in front of the benches, you'll see a interpretive panel location, which shows you the history of the streetcars on these panels, and very informative. I was interviewed 4 times by this gal that's going to put the information in those interpretive panel locations. So I'm excited to see what all is going to be in there. A lot of history will be involved in that, and then what is not in there, you'll have a website to go to be able to see all the history of this loop. There's another picture of it, what it looks like. Again, this Waveland trolley loop will not be there, but this streetcar is made out of metal, and it will be, his name is slipping my mind, 10 feet high and 27 feet long will be the size of that streetcar. And of course, all our landscaping, our information boards, and etc. This is all done by pictures taken from a 3D video, 30-second 3D video that Shive Hattery did, which was very, very informative. But this really should be what what it looks like. And the information on this right here in the center that said move will all be moved over in the location on the right here and up on a pole, which shouldn't interfere with their golf course sign. We try to orient this to incorporate the streetcars and the the golf course. I'll go back here. See the figurines in dark brown, that's the ones that will be on the monument. The white is just people coming in and looking. So the ones that are in brown will be part of the monument. And you see them over here on the right or behind the streetcar, you'll see a golfer. And then you've got just a gal or child. And then you have the operator up here waving. Those are items that will be with the monument itself.
It looks like it's going to be a great little display piece there.
It is going to be fantastic. I just can't wait. And it's supposed to be, we've been working on this for so long, and it will be, they said as soon as the weather breaks. Well, we're getting really close to when that weather is breaking. And we've got all the legal ramifications. We just finished the legal ramifications to allow us to start construction. And so the construction should begin real soon. I just can't wait. Could be any day. This is the back. This was an addition that come along by one of the architects, which really added to this. This allows the public to interact with this monument, including people like myself that are handicapped and can come up the back and look through the streetcar. Now these people standing here, they can be looking through the streetcar and having people take pictures of them from the other side. So it's really neat, a neat aspect, a neat idea, and it went over very, very well. So we're excited about that. If anyone's interested, we're still taking donations. This is a form that we have that will tell about it. And if you care to donate, this is the form you need. And fill that out, get it sent in. It tells you who to send it to. And we're still taking donations. Even though we're starting construction here very soon, we don't know exactly what the cost is going to be until it's done. And boy, the way things are going up, how fast they're going up, we're just hoping we're hanging on to the money we have to have enough money to do. So until we given the sign, don't donate anymore, we're still asking for donations, and this is how you do it. Nope, I've not seen your lipstick. And if I haven't put anybody to sleep, that's it.
Well, thank you, Earl. That was a fantastic presentation and a lot of history there about the city of Des Moines and the Des Moines streetcar system. So definitely appreciate your contribution here. And we'll be looking forward to our program next month that is going to include Derek James, who is a senior director with Amtrak, and I'll be doing an interview with him. So thank you again, Earl. And as always, thanks everyone for tuning in. This month's slideshow is brought to you by Steel Highway. Visit steel-highway.com or follow the link in the description to find out how Steel Highway is supporting the railfan community. Steel Highway, the magazine for the modern railfan.